Yeah, it's been a tough day to be a member of the News Corp family, part of the Murdoch empire, as I've been for more than 30 years, proudly. We've just had Fox News, our colleagues, so to speak, pay more than $1 billion and admit to airing lies about the election that Donald Trump lost. Lies that voting machines were rigged to steal votes from Trump and give them to Joe Biden. As Fox News people privately admitted in emails, there was no proof. And I said the same quite out loud about this conspiracy theory was nuts. But I lost viewers who didn't want to hear that back then, called me a sellout, to the point that I had to defend myself. Accepting the clear verdict of an election is exactly the conservative thing to do. It's wrong now for Trump supporters to cry fraud against Joe Biden. That's wrong too. I mean, I could do it and get many more hits, a lot more success preaching to the base, but I won't do it because it's not the conservative thing to do. Not trashing confidence in democracy with no real proof. We're better than that, aren't we? Well, I'm afraid some people at Fox News made a different calculation. Not all of them, but enough to make it hard for everyone else. They looked at their falling ratings and they gave in to the great temptation. They let some of their more reckless or desperate or deluded hosts keep pushing this fake news about the voting machines to keep their viewers. And now it's exploded in their face. In fact, our reputation's been damaged. And the money. Fox News has now agreed to pay Dominion Voting Systems $1.2 billion Australian in compensation. And you might maybe even double that because another voting machine company is also suing Fox News. And this is a disaster. I mean, we are better than this, or we should be. The truth must always come first, even if the audience doesn't like it. But one thing that really gets me are the media outlets who are now crowing as if they're the pure ones and we're uniquely evil. Now, I've said for decades that the greatest weakness of journalists is to write not to please their boss, but their friends or their audience. They love the applause, and nowhere in this country is that more obvious than, not here, but in the ABC, which is now gloating about Fox News. You see, the ABC's got more than 3,500 staff, and not a single one of them dares tell their audience the truth about global warming, that it's grossly exaggerated, and the pain of global warming policies is not worth the gain. Their audience wouldn't wear it. And not one of them dared to tell their audience the truth about Cardinal George Pell, that of course he was innocent. The charges were of course bizarre. Again, their audience wouldn't wear it. And now when ABC, you ask which ABC reporter dares offend that audience by saying, well, this voice is racist, because it is. Not a single one. But here in the Murdoch empire, there are people who are saying and have long said that Trump's claims of rigged voting machines, they're crazy. Because here at least there is a culture of debate, which is in this circumstance perhaps one of the things that cost us. Presenters are perhaps allowed sometimes to go off on their own mad frolics instead of being smacked into line, like they would in The Guardian, for instance. So it's been a tough day. Embarrassed by some colleagues in America and having to listen to the jeers of hypocrites here. So what can I tell you? All I can say is trust the journalists who will tell you the truth, whether it's convenient or not, whether you get angry or not. And I'd say, if that's the test, put your trust in us. But joining me is Rick Gates. He was deputy chair of Donald Trump's successful campaign to become president. Rick, thank you so much for joining us. How does this Dominion case hurt or help Trump's campaign?
Yeah, Andrew, first, it's great to be with you. And I think that the Dominion case was surprising for a lot of people that it was settled by Fox News Corporation. And really, it's not going to have a tremendous impact on Donald Trump's campaign simply because the issue has been rather dated. The president continues to bring it up at certain campaign rallies. He is still going to comment on it throughout the campaign. But I think for Fox in particular, they were trying to turn the corner. They needed to make sure that they kept their revenue dollars going, and they needed to watch their viewership and make sure that they protected that. So in the end, it's probably a good decision for Fox, even though President Trump won't agree with it, but it's not going to change the president's standpoint on what he believes in terms of what happened in 2020.
Do you think, knowing him, do you think he really believes those machines were rigged, or it's just for him some way of saving his blushes and making his supporters still believe in him?
No, he would definitely will double down. I believe that he believes that there was fraudulent activity. I think there's been, some concern over that, kind of definition and how far it extends. There were certainly election irregularities, but were they substantial enough to actually overturn the election? And that's kind of one of the big questions that people really haven't focused on. At the end of the day, the president believes, based on what he was told by some of his advisors and other people and what he personally saw, that there was fraudulent activity. He has escalated that to make it sound as if the election were stolen from him. But at the end of the day, there was never any substantial concrete proof to show that it was done in such a extensive way that it actually changed the course of the election. And that's been the big problem for not just the former president, but also for Fox News and other organizations in the United States that have kind of fought that messaging.
Well, I think you've summed it up well. Personally, I thought the vote counting corruption story was bonkers, but the rest, the irregularities, I don't think amounted to actually changing the result. I think you're absolutely correct there. But anyway, he seems to be still focusing on that. In general, though, how is Donald Trump's campaign going?
Well, yeah, apart from the Fox decision, I mean, obviously he was indicted very recently in the state of New York, and that has actually bolstered his campaign substantially. Some of the things that we look for, in a presidential race, kind of polling numbers, fundraising ability, infrastructure in the various states. And all of those have soared as a result of President Trump being indicted. It has kind of galvanized his base. And as we've watched in the U.S., it's actually even brought together some of the enemies he had on the Republican side. Not that they support him and his personality 100%, but what has happened to him and what the Democrats are doing to him, they do not believe that should happen to any American, and therefore they're supporting Donald Trump in that endeavor.
But Rick Gates, I tend to agree that what has been done to him, a lot of what's been done to him is just completely off the charts. It's just a disgrace. That said, I'm not sure that a lot of people in the middle will think, well, what's been done to him is terrible, but I'm still not going to vote for him. I think a lot of them will still think, it's bad, but I don't like him even so.
Yeah, one of the things that people tend to watch for are the national polls. How's President Trump doing? How's President Biden doing? At the end of the day, it's pretty useless to look at those, because the way that our elections are structured over here, you got to look at the individual states. And when you start breaking those poll numbers down, what you see is there's a galvanized vote on the right and a galvanized vote on the left. And I believe that middle, that moderate independent group, which has grown substantially. We just had a report come out in the U.S. today by a think tank group that has basically identified about 38-40% of people saying they're identifying as independent. That group is ultimately going to elect our next president. In terms of the indictment and where they stand on Trump, I was actually surprised. The moderates and independents are about 50% down the middle. Some believe it's too much. This shouldn't have happened to Trump. And other people, of course, are going the other way and saying he deserves it.